you're a life insurance agent that's currently generating about 10,000-ish dollars per month and you're looking to grow to 30K and beyond, but you've been stuck for a little while at that 10K mark, it's most likely one of four reasons or a combination. Number one is that you don't have a consistent marketing or a lead flow strategy. Number two is that you're selling the wrong thing. Number three is that you don't have a proper follow up process. And then number four is you're not qualifying fast enough on the phones. I'm going to provide some strategy here on all four for you on so you can get past that $10,000 per month mark and ultimately get to 20 and beyond. Let's start with having a consistent marketing lead strategy. I think once you hit that $10,000 per month mark, buying leads, it's just not scalable at a certain point. What I mean by scalable is that like to get to 20,000 a month, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 a month, you're going to have to start spending more money on marketing. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be leads because the thing is that now when you're dealing with a lead vendor, you got to understand how they make money. Lead vendors make money by charging you 3 to 4 times what they're getting the lead for. So if they're getting a lead at $12, they're charging you 4 times that price so that they can make their profit in between. So they're charging you $60. It's nothing wrong with lead vendors charging that, but for you at the $10,000 mark, every time you're trying to get to the next goal, you're paying 4 times the price to do it. So at this stage, you're spending a lot of cash to get to the same point, which is why you probably don't see a lot of profitability coming to your business from writing business and accounting for the chargebacks, right? So the way that you can adjust this is that instead of you buying from the lead vendor, you build your own in-house lead generation system. Okay. This is one of the things that I do for clients is where now instead of you paying 4 times the price, lead vendors are basically utilizing Facebook ads or TikTok ads or Google ads to be able to generate leads and they're reselling them to you. We basically just help clients set up their own Facebook and Instagram ads in-house so you can get the same $12 lead cost instead of you paying $60 for the lead. Does that make sense? And then that prevents you from having to jump from lead vendor to lead vendor to lead vendor because once you get this lead engine set up the first time, you won't have to worry about doing it again unless, of course, you believe that Facebook or Google are ever going to shut down one day, which we know they'll never shut down, and we know that people are going to constantly be scrolling online. So you need to have a consistent marketing strategy. You can't be buying at $60 when you're trying to get to that 50,000 mark. You got to bring it in-house. And that's one of the things that I did as a licensed agent. I've been running in-house, and I don't pay 4 or 5 times the price to a lead vendor. So that's number one. Getting your in-house strategy the right way so you can consistently control your flow of leads coming in and your marketing. That brings me to number two, is that if you don't necessarily have a lead flow problem, you're selling the wrong thing. So this is where, I talk to agents who are in the term and the final expense space. Now, there's nothing wrong with you selling term insurance. There's nothing wrong with you selling final expense. I believe that term and final expense both have their place. And I come from a background of banking where we sold everything. We like every type of insurance product, term insurance, whole life, final expense, annuities, and IULs. So we do what's best for the client. But it gets to a certain point where when you want to scale to that 20,000, 30, 40, 50,000 per month mark, that like when you're looking at term and final expense, the APs are relatively smaller compared to larger ticketed items like IULs and annuities. So you're going to be earning smaller commissions. So you got to do, for example, let's say that every policy that you sell on a term or a final expense is $1,000, okay? Well, for somebody who sells an IUL, for every policy they sell is $3,000. They're making 3 times the amount of money that you do in the same period of time. So now we're talking about time because as a life insurance agent, you're exchanging labor for money. The amount of calls, so the amount of calls that you input, your output is your commission. So you got to input a lot. So if you're only earning $1,000 compared to somebody who's earning $3,000, they're making 3 times the amount of money than you with the same amount of time. So this is where when I say selling the wrong thing, you might need to think about diversifying now, where you got to move into more advanced markets like IULs and annuities, where you're dealing with with the clientele who has the ability to pay slightly more for insurance based off of their needs. So there are people out there who want and need annuities. There are people out there who want and need IULs. Depending on their goals, assuming that that's the case, then you have the opportunity to be able to earn a lot more in commission from helping a client. So you might want to think about, diversifying, not stopping what you're doing, but yeah, you have term, you have final expense, but now add annuity or IUL to your pot if you have the type of clientele that has the ability to be able to buy those kind of policies because they feel like they need it. So diversification, more money per policy always works, right? So you need to start thinking in that way. And number three is you may not have a proper follow-up process, right? So maybe you didn't have a consistent lead flow, so now you need to bring your marketing in-house. Maybe you're selling the wrong thing, so you need to like figure out how to diversify, or maybe you don't have a good follow-up process. This is where now like and by the way, I had this problem where you're generating a bunch of leads, but you're not following up with the people from the past. Or and that doesn't mean you need to follow up with your own labor. It just means that you may not have the proper systems to follow up. For example, do you have text messages going out to leads every day on a follow-up automation system? Do you have emails that go out to leads to the every day on an automation process? Like I have text messages that go out every day. I have emails that go out every day to my entire list daily. Like they're always being nurtured because just because somebody fills out their information saying that they're looking for insurance doesn't mean they're looking for it like today. But if you stay on top of their mind, I've seen it to where agents 1 year later from following up with somebody, they finally bought that policy. So like everything's about follow up. The people, the fortune is in the follow up. The people who are most successful have great follow up strategies. So you want to make sure you got text messages that are going out to your leads, emails that are going out to your leads, and if possible and you're in this position, even probably hiring a like an appointment setter. Like we had like 10 appointment setters on our team who just got in contact with all of our leads and just set appointments and did live transfers to all the agents who are in the organization. So like you need to think about ways to be able to, low cost ways to be able to continue to follow up with all of your leads, right? I think my personal favorite, of course, is outside of having a CRM setup that sends text messages and emails on autopilot so you don't got to do the work. My favorite, of course, was having like dollars on the team, like low cost dollars that we trained. They were overseas and we trained them every day. Many of them have stayed on our, they stayed on our team as contractors for over a year and trained them, and they would dial down the entire list of leads and get in contact with people. And they go, man, I'm finally glad that you've been reaching out to me for the past 3 months. I'm finally ready. And then the agent goes ahead and writes the policy. So that's probably my favorite one. So have a proper follow-up process in place. Those follow-ups can increase your overall take home every single month significantly. That's even if that's like five extra policies a month. If your average AP again is like $3,000, that's extra $15,000 per month from five policies. And let's say that you only invested 2,000 and having 2,000 bucks in, your overall follow-up process when it comes to CRMs, a dollar. If it only costs you 2 grand, you made back 15. You net down 13 by having a proper follow-up system in place. So again, that's important. And then lastly is the fourth reason why you may not be able to cross that 10K mark and above is you're not qualifying fast enough on the phone. I was just talking to a client about this last week. When I say qualifying fast enough on the phone, this goes back to the original concept. You you're paid for your labor as a life insurance agent. You have to you got to get on the line with somebody. And when you get on the line with them, you have to run an application. And then from the application, the insurance company decides whether or not the client is approved or declined, which means that if you spend 2 hours on the line before you run an application just to get back declines from multiple insurance carriers, the only person whose fault that is yours because you didn't optimize. If you understand how insurance works and you understand that you're not in control of the qualification process, then you should be qualifying very early on in the call, where within the first 30 minutes of the call, you should already be running an application or getting close to it, because it's basically, hey, I have to verify if you're approved for this, and then assuming that you're approved, if there's any adjustments, changes, et cetera, that we need to make, we could do those. But like, I at least at a baseline got to verify that you're approved. And this is where now, as an agent, you need to understand you gotta be reading the underwriting guidelines so you can ask the proper questions in the beginning of the call. So if you have 4 or 5 insurance carriers that you work with, you should understand the underwriting guidelines of all 5 of those carriers, so that when you ask the proper questions, then you can already understand in your mind, does this person even fit in any of the 5 carriers that I have? And maybe it's just one. Well, now you were able to cut down on the 4, go to the one that you're looking for, and then do they fit in this one, and what's the odds of them getting approved? But then you also got to take into account, is the client even going to tell me the truth? Are they telling me the truth about their health? Which is why I'm a big believer of qualifying very early on in the call, running an application early in the call, and getting the approval back from the insurance company. And then when we get back the approval, we can have a long conversation at that point. But I'm not having a very long conversation if I still don't know the client is qualified, right? Like, have a deep dive after the approval is done. So if you're spending 2, 3 hours on a call before you run applications, that's probably the reason why you're not going past 10,000 a month, because you don't have that much time in your day, and you're like, I got 3 declines today. Well, no shit. You only had 9 hours in a day. You spent 3 hours per client. That's not going to work. You only spoke to 3 people. You could have spoken to more people had you realized those 3 clients were declined very early on in the call, and got them either to another type of policy that they would have gotten approved for, or told them, hey, unfortunately, I don't have the opportunity to help you. I'm not the controller of the insurance company and the approval. But based off all of the underwriting guidelines, I don't have the proper carriers to help. So there may be somebody else out there who's better for you. I do that all the time, and clients actually appreciate it by me not wasting their time, right? So like, I'm not wasting my time, I'm not wasting theirs, because I tell them early on, I can't help you, Miss Johnson. Unfortunately, the insurance carriers decide who gets approved based off underwriting guidelines. I'm 100% certain that, like, all of these things, every carrier says decline, decline, decline. And even if we try to run an application, I'm going to waste your time, because they're not going to approve it. And based off of all of the clients that I've worked with in the past who I've tried to run applications for, they all got declined. So, Ms. Johnson, you're probably better going off to this company right here who can help you. Within 15 minutes, I'm able to move on and get to someone who may actually have the ability to be able to utilize the insurances that I have available through the carriers. So qualify better. It's going to save you time so you get to the right person, because all you're looking for is one right person a day. So with that, let's wrap this up. There's 4 reasons why you're not scaling beyond 10K. One of 4 reasons, or a combination. You don't have a consistent lead marketing strategy. This is where you need to bring your lead flow in-house. Okay, stop buying from lead vendors. They're charging you 4 or 5 times the price, and it's better if you're already going, if you're going to pay 4 or 5 times the price, you better just keep it in house. It's better to just do it in house. Pay 4 times, 5 times the price in house, and you'll get more value, right? So it's not like just to recap, it's not about cutting down the cost. It's about, if I'm going to pay 4 or 5 times the price, it may as well be in house for more value than what lead vendors are going to give to me, right? Number 2, you're selling the wrong thing, right? So diversification now becomes key for you to scale. Number 3, proper follow-up processes, right? You need to figure out how to keep following up with the past leads that you have through automated systems, and or some type of dialer on your team. And last but not least, not qualifying fast enough on the phone, because your labor is attached to this. So you got to know how to get in and off the line. I pray this was valuable to you. You want more stuff like this, click the link. And I have a free Telegram chat with over 1,000 agents where I share value like this all the time. And with that said, apply this information, and I will see you next video. Peace.